In this tutorial, I showcase how I combine different solvers into one .NET to achieve a soft body burning effect. We will build step-by-step a pipeline that allows complex iteration between each component, while keeping the workflow polyvalent. I developed this tool to achieve this sleeve shot for my demo reel, but here we focus on a simple application to a sheet of paper, no look dev, no tuning or compositing to keep things simple. First, we focus on achieving the crumbling effect. We will use two Vellum solvers. One Vellum solver will be responsible for achieving a crumbling position, and the other one will blend towards that position. I start with a grid that I remesh, and I fracture into 20 pieces. Then I use the exploded view node to preview those pieces. I define a point group that will be the corner of the paper that I will pin, and I use the Vellum close configure to define the bend and stretch constraints. I will define the pin type as stopped, because for the moment I want to unstop them, and I will drop down a first sub-level Vellum solver. This solver will be just responsible for computing a crumbling position, so I will disable the gravity. Inside I will animate the bend constraints. I want to animate the rest length from 0 flat to 20. This will achieve a first crumbling effect. However, this puts a lot of stress onto the stretch constraints, so I want to time shift it and recompute the constraints. Later, during our main simulation, I will import those constraints. I will now drop down a second Vellum solver. That will be our main simulation that I will replace later with the .NET, with different solver inside to complete the effect. I will disable the gravity, and I will use the rest blend node to import our constraints, and I will update the bend and stretch constraints at every frame. Our next focus will be to drive the crumbling effect using a pyrospread solver. For that, I put down a rest attribute onto my geometry and create a pyrospread setup. I will get rid of everything except the node responsible for creating the fire and spreading it. The hot group is where the fire starts. And then I go down to the pyrospread setup, where I pre-visualize the temperature and put down some value that I like. I make sure that there is a temperature attribute that is spreading on the paper. Our next focus will be to bring that attribute onto the constraint geometry. For that, I dive back into the Vellum solver, where I put down a sub-solver that is targeting the constraint geometry. Inside, I put the constraint geometry back to the rest position, because this is where the pyrospread is happening. And I'm going to transfer the rest attribute onto that geometry by importing the pyrospread geometry. Once I've made sure that the temperature attribute is reaching my constraints, I promote it to the primitive. I will create a new attribute that we will call restBlend, that is going to be the temperature clamped between 0 and 1. Now we need to find a way to use that attribute instead of the slider on the restBlend node. For that, I dive into the restBlend node twice, go down to the last node, and edit this line. Now our pyrospread solver is driving our crumbling effect. Our next focus will be to weld the point we fractured, and then break those welds using the pyrospread. First, we define the weld constraints with high stiffness and breakable under bend stress. Next, inside the Vellum solver, I drop down a pop wrangle that is directly targeting the Vellum geometry, and I import the total burn using the pitinum. Because right now there is a 1-to-1 match between the pitinum of the Vellum simulation and the pitinum of the pyrospread simulation. I update the break threshold so that as the total burn attribute increases, the weld breaks. So right now, our pyrospread solver is breaking our weld. I do like this way of updating the constraints a bit better because it doesn't require to use an attribute transfer or subsolver. So I will update our previous setup in the same way. For that I will write down what is the closest point to the primitive into a ptburn attribute. And inside the velum solver, I will get rid of the subsolver. And I will drop down a geometry wrangle that is targeting the constraint geometry. Just like the pop wrangle, the second input will be the pyro spread solver. And we will import the total burn attribute using the ptburn. And the rest blend will now be a clamp of the total burn attribute between 0 and 1. So our pyro spread solver is still both breaking the weld and crumbling the paper. Our next focus will be to combine the velum solver and the pyro spread solver into one .NET. I will start by moving the velum setup to the side, and I'm going to create a new .NET, and the first input will be the same input as the velum subsolver. I will put down a ground plane on the velum solver as well as the velum object, and regarding the behavior of the velum we will just copy-paste what we had before into the pre-advection step. For the pyro spread, I will make sure that we only output the points that were initialized, and I will dive inside the solver to copy the node that we will import into our .NET. I will also connect the last input of the .NET to the points that we have. I will rename the spread object to spread, and I will initialize it using the last input of the .NET. Regarding the behavior of the spreading, I will just get rid of everything except the diffuse step and the reaction step. And I will import the velum so that the pyro spread points can move with the velum. So if the velum starts folding and there is like contact points, they will spread further between each other. The last thing that we need to do is to restore all the connections that were cut due to the fact that I copy-pasted this setup into a new .NET. So I will just restore all the value. After this step, we have a velum setup that works, but we deleted one too many node and the injection step is not working properly anymore. The good thing is that it's just a matter of putting fuel at the beginning, so I will just get rid of the noise. The last step is to reroute the pop wrangle and the geometry wrangle to make sure that they fetch geometry DOP data and not sub data. And now we have a full velum solver as well as a pyro spread solver working inside the same .NET. To continue our setup, we will now have the pyro simulation inside the same .NET. We will add a pyro sim that will source its volume from the velum, and then we will advect the velum point using the velocity field, and we will also use the velum as collision for the pyro sim, as well as increasing the temperature of the pyro spread. So I'm using the pyro sparse setup, and we need a sub definition to source our volume. So I will come down to the subsolver here, and I will compute the velocity of the point and rasterize the densities just to make things interesting. And I will also rasterize the burn attribute. We can see that the flame is being source. We don't have any density field, so it's important to enlarge the field to contain the source. And also I will put down a gravity node. So now the velum is being affected by gravity. I will tune my simulation a bit, just to make things more interesting. We can import our field out of the simulation using a dub import field. For the last steps, we will add some additional interaction between the pyro and the other components. The first thing we want to do is probably use the velum as collision geometry for the pyro, so that the flame is being moved as the velum moves the flame. I will get rid of the V field that we were sourcing before. I will take the velum and keep only the V and the P-scale attribute. It's easier to rasterize some points than rasterize a sheet of paper, so I will scatter some points that will inherit the V attribute. And I will create a collision SDF, as well as rasterize the V attribute. Now that we have our collision geometry, we can drop down the second velum source node that will target this SOP. And I will put down some parameter to make sure that we have some temperature that comes out of the flame, as well as make sure that the collision is being imported correctly into the simulation. Next thing is that I want to advect the velum using the velocity field of the pyro simulation. So now the points of the velum are being pulled up by the pyro. I want also the flame to be able to spread as the temperature field hits some pyro spread points. So what I will do is import the temperature field from my pyro object, and I will take the maximum of that field and the temperature attribute on my pyro spread points. So now the pyro spread is spreading fire on the pyro spread points. And if you're using pyro spares and you're kind of missing the fact that the flame can spread inside the simulation, it's a good idea to do it this way. What you want to render at the end is probably the velum and the pyro fields. And now you can see that we have a full pyro spread, and velum simulation into one.net that is burning a piece of paper.